All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our webinar presented by Nutmeg Independent Labor Unions and the Law Office of Eric Brown. Tonight, we're going to be talking about becoming a better union leader. The first topic to talk about are the 5 problems that union leaders face. So these are the 5, and we'll get into these more deeply. All right, so the first issue, communication with members. Why is that important? I mean, it might seem obvious, but members, as you know, because you're leaders, members rely on you to do the work of the union. And oftentimes it's a thankless job, but they vote you in and they expect you to carry the ball. But then when issues arise, they want to know what you're doing. And one of the common complaints that I hear from folks when they decide to come join Nutmeg is the union doesn't do anything for us. Now, I know from firsthand experience that that's probably not true, because the union, at least where there's good leadership, is always working in the background, trying to make things better. But if you're not communicating with your membership about what's going on and what you're working on and how you're dealing with management, there's a tendency to believe that if they're not hearing about controversy or they're not hearing about improvements, then the union isn't doing anything for them. Problem number 2 is record keeping. You see all the boxes there in the picture because that is not the way that we want to be doing our record keeping in 2021. This issue arises in bargaining units where someone will come to me with an issue that probably may have occurred back in 1999 or 2003, and there's some person in the bargaining unit who has some vague recollection of how the matter was handled way back when, but nobody can put their hands on the settlement agreement that was reached way back when. And without being able to put our hands on the settlement agreement, the agreement that was reached or the understanding that was made is fairly useless. So it becomes important, particularly now, to be able to digitize all of those agreements for as far back as we can go. But even if we can't go backwards, at least moving forwards, we have to have a plan in place to be able to digitize all of our records. Problem number 3, community relations. One of the things I've learned, even over the last couple of years, I was always sort of vaguely aware of the issue, but never really identified it as an issue, was the importance of speaking with members of the community to get our message out, our needs, our wants, and let them understand the value that we bring. We do have employees who provide important services to the public, and so the public needs to know about that. Problem number 4, transparency with management. A lot of times when people come into unions and union leadership roles, they have a belief that they need to always be aggressive with management, or it's an antagonistic relationship or adversarial. And to some degree it is, right? Because there's essentially a limited pool of resources, and we're trying to get as much as we can, and management is trying to preserve as much as it can. But it doesn't have to be encumbered by disagreement, anger, or mistrust. So the way we've always done business is we try to engage in mutually respectful conversation. The final problem that we deal with is unwillingness to change. And one of the things that I always hate to hear is, well, that's the way it's always been done. As we advance now past COVID and into the new world of work in 2021, we need to start rethinking about the way that we get the job done. I've always been a big believer in more training for our members. And as we negotiate new contracts, that's one of the things that we always ask for, is more training on more topics. Whether you're a police officer or an administrator or a clerical worker or a custodian. More and better training can only help you do the job better and can help you advance in your career in ways that you might not have ever thought about.